People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on, Ian. People deluded. I'm back again. As usual, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, in some cases, good night. Hope Monday, the week has started in the best possible vein for you lot. And as usual, whether you're on Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube, appreciative of you lot tuned in. Make sure you're smashing the like button if you're watching this on YouTube, whether you're watching it live or on the replay. And obviously, you're cross-following on all the platforms. Big up you lot. Hope Monday's been great. Hope the weekend was great for you lot. Away from a footballing perspective, mine was birthday weekend. I had a whale of a time. We won't get into it. My team couldn't give me 3 points, couldn't even score, but it is what it is, people. And I'm sure if you're on social media, you know, and what has been a great start to 2024 for this football club, and ultimately now we're dying by the high standards, bearing in mind we've seen Bayern Munich, Liverpool, you know, Manchester United, Manchester City all come to the Emirates and not leave with victory. We've lost to Aston Villa and it's all doom and gloom. Sack the manager, the players ain't good enough, the title race is over, etc., etc. On the topic of that, let me know your thoughts. Do you think the title race is over? Do you think there's any chance? I don't know. I've always been quite pessimistic on Arsenal winning the trophy, the big trophy, because I think the margins for error with Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, you know, there's not really much in it. And we still have this element of shooting ourselves in the foot. We shot ourselves in the foot against Aston Villa. We shot ourselves in the foot away at Chelsea, at Spurs, Fulham at home, West Ham at home, Aston Villa away, Newcastle away. The only terrible performances I think I've seen from our football club this season out of the many games we've played, you could also extend shooting ourselves in the foot to Bayern Munich, but I would say Fulham away was absolutely terrible. West Ham away in the League Cup was terrible. Other than that, it's been a bit of a mixed bag, but ultimately, you know, with the margins for error less and less, with the Premier League slowly but surely drawing to a conclusion, it's just about getting 3 points. And I actually feel watching the Aston Villa game twice now, I won't go as far as to say the Aston Villa first half or the first half from an Arsenal perspective was amazing, but there was a really big correlation between how we played in that first half and obviously how we played in the second. And it's been a bit of, based on last week, we've conceded 4, pardon my language, shit goals. It's never nice to concede anyways, and there's always things you could do differently. And credit to Aston Villa and obviously Bayern Munich, because this just shows you there's no margins for error. It's not good enough to be good for 45 minutes and whatnot. But we shot ourselves in the foot to concede 2. That was the second half was Arsenal from old, you know. Not taking our opportunities, not winning our midfield battles, going to sleep in the dying embers of the game. To concede 2 goals within 6 minutes or something like that is absolutely disgraceful. I will say if we had to drop any points, big up Aston Villa, because the former Arsenal man with Emre there and obviously Martinez there, and you've got the yard man Leon Bailey. And, you know, one thing I like is that, you know, we're not happy the fact that, you know, in a season where I've said we've played some big teams, gone toe-to-toe, relatively done all right, we're quite vexed about things. And you know, it's nice to see, you know, I knew Arsenal was hated, and I know some of you got rival supporting fans, but City fans aren't really saying anything. But the Liverpool supporting friends I have, the Spurs friends I have, the Chelsea ones, and all the rival clubs, they're all cheering on Aston Villa like we're really hated. I don't blame you lot though, because you lot couldn't come to the Emirates and do it. Brag about your own team's work, but it's upsetting. It's annoying, upsetting. It's never nice to lose. It's annoying more than anything. And even on that, people, in terms of my extended thoughts or things I have to say, I have to ask the manager questions. I do believe where you look at our fan base, we've got a lot of weirdos. Let's be honest. That I don't care what people think or have to think. I think everyone's deserved their opinion. You can be as negative or as positive, as optimistic or as pessimistic as you choose. Life would be boring, and so would football if we all felt the same way. But I just think within our fan base, there's very small sections that are actually balanced. You know, you've got some, I believe both fall on the toxic end of the spectrum per se. Smash the like button. I think false, you know, like that toxic positivity to the point where it's lies, and misery likes company as well. I think you can sit here and you can You know, it's all just copium, really and truly. You know, we've got one loss in 2024 in the Premier League. Now, that just shows you that very rarely we could go off and win all our games. And that could be where we shot ourselves in the foot off the backdrop of the many games this season that we've done well. And obviously times we've needed to do better. So you can use that to console yourself, or you can say misery loves company, sack the gaffer, the players ain't good enough. Do I think we're a good team? Yes. This is a good team. That's a great team. And we need to be able to see things through to the end. We need to be able to control ourselves mentally. And I do think the last two games have been a mixture of things, if I'm honest. I think more so Bayern Munich, I feel psychologically we're struggling. I think we look out of steam. I think, you know, while we've got a decent squad, whether you're a squad regular or like a rotational option, I think we've ran players to the limits like the last two seasons. Like the good players are doing as much as they can. Odegaard, another man of the match performance. Saka has bagged his goals, etc., etc. Other players need to take the workload, really. And I think the gaffer got it wrong against Aston Villa, if I'm completely honest. Now, I'm not a fly on the wall. I don't know all the other reasons, but I don't feel the subs watching the game again. Don't feel the subs helped us. Obviously, I do think people are just blaming Zinchenko. I do think watching the game twice again, it was good in the first half, second half. Zinchenko needed to come off a lot sooner than he did. To see him come off when the damage has been done and we're 2 goals down is appalling. Personally, I think if you watch the game again, you know, there is issues with Zinchenko 100%. We've been here before, you know, and his stock has fallen. We're going to go over that and whatnot, people. But I feel he needs to come off sooner. I don't think you can watch those 2 goals and just blame Zinchenko, really and truly. You know, again, I don't advocate blaming one person, nobody in this team. Because fair enough, you could say Zinchenko was shit. He was the worst thing ever. And he was -2 out of 10. That's cool. And if we assume that's facts, cool. But what about the other 10 players who have shown they can keep, you know, they can defend well and show they can score goals? Why didn't we get something from the Villa game? So cool, park Zinchenko off. What's going on with the other players? You know, the Bermuda Triangle of Gabriel, Saliba and Declan Rice. Last 2 games, Declan Rice been chasing shadows. Gabriel and Saliba, they ain't really been taking charge of situations. I'll be real, Jorginho got away with murder for the second goal, if I'm honest. You know, you can go and watch the goal again. Gabriel was telling him go back to Raya. He's tried to be a hero. He's ended up being a villain. Smith Rowe finds himself trying to be a centre-half against Ollie Watkins. I must admit, the last 2 games, I'm definitely not blaming David Raya. But his positioning, the jury's still out. Think he's a good keeper. Think he's shown he can do a thing. Not saying to scapegoat him, but the positioning, even for the second goal, to still get chipped after you've come out, gone back, gone back, it's ridiculous. Jorginho got away with murder. You know, you can look at Zinchenko being on the right-hand side and, again, should get back. But you got to remember, that's a corner. Collectively as a team, we've dealt with the first phase being dealing with the immediate threat of the corner. Aston Villa have kept the pressure on. They've kept the pressure on. We're at 6s and 7s. If you're going to blame Zinchenko, which, again, everybody, you know, when you do well, or me anyways, when people do well, we praise. When people do shaky things. He's out of sorts. Kai Havertz has offered nothing in that regards defensively. Gabriel, Saliba, etc. None of them are aware. Declan Rice, Gabriel and Saliba, they're not communicating because we're not marking properly. Martinelli's unaware of where Bailey is. Again, I wouldn't blame Raya, but Raya's positioning is shaky. It's a collection, or better yet, culmination of terrible errors. We were terrible on the transition. We were terrible defensively, and we weren't good enough in the final third. Mikel Arteta, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But to me, as an ignorant fan, I'm not really going to say, oh, the Zinchenko thing, because Zinchenko is definitely not my first choice left back. I would have loved to have seen Kirill stay in the team because he's been doing his thing. Tomiyasu's there. We're all waiting for Timber, but cool, Zinchenko's playing. And I felt on paper, you know what? We know Aston Villa, they got a good high line. You know, they can counter-attack. You know, Emre tweaks his team. They've got a good system. They're fighting for top 4, really. This wasn't going to be a walkover in the park. But based on the starting lineup, and again, the individuals need to take accountability, but ultimately, you know, everything in life, if you own a business or you're the manager, it's your fault. Did not see the fluidity I would have come to expect with the form of Kai Havertz, with what Trossard is on paper, Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko going into midfield, etc. The only one that and he probably could have done better, but the only one I haven't got energy for, a bit like the Bayern Munich game, is a captain, Martin Odegaard. He stood up to be counted. He did his thing. Benjamin White, he didn't get ripped, but he had a terrible time against Zanolio in that inverted row. And I've given enough credit to Aston Villa, take nothing away from it, but the system that Emre implemented, the way they dealt with us in the first 20 minutes, not that we came out of the blocks and they grew in confidence. You know, they have, in my opinion, yes, Trossard should have bagged. Gabriel Jesus could have done better. Kai Havertz could have done better. But I would say on the balance of things, watching the game twice, Aston Villa had the better chances. They rattled the post, but they kissed the post, the inside the post and the crossbar. They did better than us. Even the second goal, we've tried to hit back immediately. We have got caught on the transition. We've tried to hit back immediately. And Telemans' initial clearance isn't good enough. Zinchenko picks it up. Jorginho's made the error, and then we're in issues. And I'm not here to blame someone. We win, lose, and draw together. It weren't good enough. If any one of those players can say they played to a certain standard, that is one of a team that's trying to win a title, seeing Liverpool drop points, knowing this monster of a City team is about to kick into full gear. If everyone can say, apart from Zinchenko, that they gave 100%, they couldn't have done more, fair enough. But everybody, that was a terrible week for us. We have to get back on it, really and truly. What we're going to do, feel sorry for ourselves. And for the fans, a lot of our fans sit here and talk about where the players are emotional, they ain't got the bottle, etc. I know the fans are not playing, but reflect the same values then. Again, I'm not just saying this, the cold-hearted fact is we've got one loss in 2024. Can we, I don't look at the league table, but can we get back in it? Can we take advantage of things? I don't know. We're 2 points behind City. You win your games, who knows? Wolves are not going to hand us anything. Bayern Munich and Germany are not going to hand us anything. So we're in issues, people. And again, for me, maybe not so much player ratings, but David Raya watching the game again, not blaming him at all because he's the last line of defense. And before I always look at my keeper, there's other question marks for everybody else. Smash the like button. Shaky positioning, last 2 games, including Bayern Munich, shaky. I like Raya. I think I see why you're here ahead of Ramsdale. I don't think you're massively above Ramsdale, but I can see the small margins. So I'm not going to say Ramsdale should be playing, but your positioning has been shaky. It was very shaky for those 2 goals, if I'm honest. Raya, very good, kind of being a centre half, off his line, ball playing, all of these things, but shaky. That Benjamin White, so I'll give Raya a 5 out of 10. Benjamin White, I don't think you were tested and you got destroyed against Zinolio, but I think on reflection you struggled, so I'll give you a 5. Saliba and Gabriel, I think for the majority of the game you didn't have to do much. You were okay, apart from that little shaky incident between Gabriel and Zinchenko. That didn't come to anything, but the last couple of times I've needed my centre halves to stand up to be counted. Them 2 have not taken control, so they're going to get 5s really. And for the part in the goal, I think everybody's been terrible. Zinchenko's a liability, I'll be real. That doesn't mean you're a bad footballer. You're just a liability. When it's crunch time and these kind of things, Zinchenko is a liability. I don't want to make him the scapegoat. Zinchenko, I'll give you a 5. I don't think there's 4s. I'll be real with you. I think it's all 5s. Everybody for the goals conceded gets a minus. Anyone who played any part, but 5 for Zinchenko, unfortunately, is a liability. Last 2 games and against Villa, Declan Rice, I think you've been out of your depth, really. You've been overperformance for this football club, so you're due a bad game. But Declan Rice chasing shadows, man. And a couple of times against Bayern Munich and against Aston Villa, he's been switched off. He's not been aware. Go and look at the second goal, people, and the first. We're all at 6s and 7s. So he's looked a bit unsure of himself. Kai Havertz, I like what you're doing, but I think it's a striker thing. Until I see something different, you have to play up front. There's little to nothing that Kai Havertz brings this football team when he plays in the left centre mid row. He doesn't. Yeah, you put in the shift, but you don't do anything. Cool, you made a couple of runs in behind that Zinchenko tried to find you, but there's got to be a correlation, and ultimately it comes down to the squad depth. We need 2 central midfielders. You need another number 6. We clearly need an 8. People can waffle about not needing a striker, and I do think our need for a striker is probably a tiny bit overstated because goals are shared around. But we need a striker that can just take one of these opportunities, and that's been shown probably in the last 3 games in Man City, Bayern Munich, and Aston Villa. It would be nice to have another winger that can inject some pace. I think Trossard didn't take his starting opportunity, and there's inconsistencies there when Trossard starts. Martinelli's had a tough season, and he's come back from injuries, brought nothing to the table. As I personally said in my watch along, I think when Smith Rowe came on, I knew Arteta was out of ideas, because when do you draw for Emil Smith Rowe? Fabio Vieira just collecting dust, really. He must be an antique. He must be Bitcoin, because he's just being hoarded in the team, really and truly. And again, I'm not a fly on the wall. Odegaard, 10 out of 10. What? You're the only guy in this team, the last 2 games, can't ask anything more from you. Like, Odegaard is one of the first people that people have something to say. You've done your thing. You just the others. Saka, quiet. Odegaard, 10 out of 10, can't ask anything more. Kai, 5. Rice, 5. Everybody's just really 5s, man. I don't think it's a game where it's 2s and 3s and 4s and it's an emotional thing. Saka, quiet, anonymous, let's be real. But again, this is what I mean, really. We've seen this the last 2 years. We've got good players, but the players that are good and the difference makers, I'm not going to say they've taken us as far as they can, but they've been, the Declan Rices, the Salibas, the Gabriels, the Sakas. They've kind of done Odegaard to a degree. They're kind of doing what they can. And the Jorginhos, the Zinchenkos, not that I'm throwing Jorginho in that, the squad players that can come in and do a thing, they've played their part. It feels like something's missing. I'll be brutally honest, man. Trossard, I think he had a positive first 20 minutes, but like Zinchenko, it went down the toilet, just about a 5. Martinelli didn't bring nothing to the table. He switched off defensively as well. 5. Jesus, I'm fighting your corner. I still believe in you. I think people are doing too much with that header incidents, but again, 5, nothing. Can't really get onto Smith Rowe because the game was done. Tomiyasu should have come on sooner. And the manager, Mikel Arteta, obviously you're going to live or die by the squad. If we have Tomiyasu and Partey and they can't start games because of fitness, if we're relying on certain purple patch players, if we're over-relying on young players, this is how Mikel Arteta has assembled the team. I think the starting 11, from what I would have expected on paper, it didn't correlate. So the gaffer's got to take responsibility. I think, you know, there's been the last couple of games prior, I think he's done very good with when he's brought on the subs, but it felt like Arsenal of the year where we didn't get top 4, where the players are concerned and they've shot themselves in the foot. And it felt like Mikel Arteta to a degree from last season when he switched off defense, when he's not switched off defensively, when he's been reluctant to make subs, when it's evident that things need to happen really and truly. It feels like we're struggling a bit psychologically. It raises in question the lack of squad depth, the lack of firepower, the lack of players that can take on the burden when the key players are not really there. At the end of the day, adversity is at our front door. So we can either be a bunch of pussies, pardon my French, and cry and feel sorry for ourselves, or we can get back on it. We don't know what the future is going to have. You know, the future brings uncertainty. The past brings regret, like Wenger says. We've got no time like the present, people. And I will say there's these issues have been there throughout our season, whether we've won or lost. But if one league defeat in 2024 at this moment in time, and I'm not saying reasons to be positive or optimistic just for no reason. If one L makes us completely turn on these players and the manager and everything's done, then everyone might as well pack up. Because if we're going to be a team, we're not in the best image us fans would like, but if we're going to be a team that's going to be fighting for prems and champs, fans need to control their emotions, really. We knew there was going to be many twists and turns. You know, in the last few weeks, Arsenal have won the weekend. City this week have won the weekend. Liverpool have won the weekend. You know, people say Liverpool in the driving seat when us and City drew. Now look at what is being said. Who knows who is going to end up winning this title? Me, I think it's City. Then I think it's Liverpool. Then I think we're third. I'd love to be proven wrong. And I have to give credit to Aston Villa. They had more desire than us. You know, go and look at the first goal. It's their defenders that are keeping the move alive. You know, Paul Torres is just sheer desire. Bailey's come off the bench and impacted. So credit to Unai Emery. We knew what to expect. They look like a team that had a goal to fight for, which is top 4. And, you know, if we can change the narrative this week and obviously Aston Villa pip Spurs, then maybe we've all helped each other out, because that is the silver lining in that. You know, they're fighting Spurs for 4th. They've taken advantage where Spurs have lost, unlike us with Liverpool. And again, for me, we shoot ourselves in the foot. That's the biggest gift, and that's the biggest gift and curse I think we have. We shoot ourselves in the foot time after time after time after time. And until we eradicate that, I don't know. It feels like there's a lot of... It feels like we're getting back to being a bit emotional, if I'm honest with you. Are we out of steam? Do we need new ideas? Are players that have put in a prolonged shift of form, are they a bit spent? Is it a bunch of everything? I don't know. I mean, I've seen fans even coming for other fans, leaving the stadium early. Do I agree with fans leaving? No, I'm always someone that stays to the final whistle. But you're allowed to do whatever the hell you want to do, really and truly. It's annoying. And again, I think we've improved a lot defensively, but the more emotional games have come at the Emirates, and it's still something that's been there. It's far too emotional at the Emirates. You know, when we, not so much Liverpool, we got over the line, but even Man United, when we beat them, had we have drawn or lost that, a bit like how Man United on the other side, we couldn't have had any complaints. We're a very emotional side. We need to be a lot more calmer, cooler, and calculated, for me anyways, man. But it's long now offering thoughts now, man. That's all I've got to say, man. We can't win every week, man. Here to check my boy Shameless. You're Shameless, Tons, man. United, you know. Please. Hope your birthday weekend was blessed, DG. Hopefully watching that painful performance did it dead. I appreciate that. Definitely not. You think I'm gonna let Arsenal make or break my weekend? That is crazy. I think the reaction has been a bit over the top. I understand it's Arsenal, but wow, 1 loss in 24 and Arteta out is trending because people, you know, YouTubers, including myself, even though I don't do that, you get engagement. There's been weeks, like you said, 24 games. Do you know how much articles, the Sky Sports and all these guys they've probably had in the paper in the pipeline and not been able to bring them out because we ain't been doing what Arsenal typically do, and the connotations about a soft underbelly and a whole hour segment on Sky Sports after Super Sunday's done dissecting what's gone wrong with our club. That is the game, you know. So it's annoying, man. Personally, the Zinni take is mad. I didn't know Zinni played centre backs and right backs that didn't get back in the second goal and the first switching off. But I personally see that. I like two depth, but end up one. We need two defenders, man. Zinchenko cost you the game big time. I disagree. I honestly disagree because, again, yes, there can be talking points or moments in a game that go left or right. But Zinchenko's not alone in the game. Do I feel confident with Zinchenko defensively? I've been saying I don't. But do I think he's at fault alone for that goal? I honestly think it's a bit lazy, and it's a bit lazy, and it's just people with an inability to look at what football is. If you're just purely blaming Zinchenko, we've had a corner. He finds himself on the right-hand side. I'm not saying he's not at any fault, but go and look at the positioning. Declan Rice, Martinelli, Saliba, Gabriel, Kai Havertz. Everybody has failed to deal with the first. Well, we've dealt with the first phase. We've not cleared our lines. We're out of position. Nobody's following runners. Raya's position is on the floor as well. Everybody's there. You know, the second goal, it is what it is. We're chasing it. We're chasing the game. It is naivety. It's the double-edged sword, in it? In that ultimately what happened to us, we lost 2-0 in the pursuit of at least getting a draw. Really, really and truly, we're caught on the transition. I've not seen a comment online, and I've not seen a comment in this chat say anything about Jorginho's pass where he's trying to be a hero, where Gabriel was telling him pass it backwards. He's tried to be a hero, and I'm not dissing Jorginho. There's been many times he's helped us, but if we're being fair, everybody has a phase of play. Smith Rowe is the fucking centre-back, people. Pardon my French. You know something's gone on there. It's too emotional. And even that, if you can't win, don't lose. To concede 2 goals in the manner we did at the end of that game, it's despicable. And I told you lot before at the start of the watch-along, while I'm happy seeing results otherwise, I told you lot something is in the air this weekend. You know, because as soon as Gabriel and Saliba had a bit of a shaky performance against Bayern Munich, all the big team centre-backs started playing mad, and it was a weird weekend. I wish Zinchenko the best, but he's got to be sold. Zinchenko, squad player, man. You can't be relied upon, man. The one loss in 2024 is technically good, but it's the timing and the significance of the loss is what makes it bad. And I can't disagree with that, Tans. That's facts. It's come at the... There's never a good time to lose, more so when you're in a title challenge. You're speaking facts, 100%. So you said that there, but the comment you're saying is exactly what I'm saying. Like, why can't we talk about it's come at the wrong time? It makes you nervous, but it is one loss. So there's reasons to be optimistic. There's definitely reasons to be pessimistic. And it just shows you, for me anyways, that we're our own worst enemies, man, if I'm completely honest with you. We definitely have the most reactionary fans, too positive or too negative, because a bunch of them are losers. Smith Rowe was our only defender for the second goal, got ripped. Respect to Aston Villa, they played well, but that's no way a low block, though. It's horrible. For a team that's statistically one of the best offensive and defensive sides, yeah, didn't score no goals. Big up Emre for keeping a clean sheet against one of the top scorers in the league. Did not defend well. 2 stupid goals. Didn't win the midfield battles. Didn't win our individual battles. Subs in comparison to Emre, which is like manager versus manager. Emre subs made the difference. Arteta's brought nothing. Emre got everything right. Arteta got everything wrong. And credit to Aston Villa for taking 6 points off us, man. I hear that. Gabriel with the misplaced pass. Zanolio causing White a lot of problems in the duels in the second half. Rice and Kai fatigued. Jesus not present for the near post runs. Everyone's accountable. Man, I've been scapegoating Raya for the longest time. There were a lot more problems around Raya during that game. Both Zinni and Ben White gave the ultimate headache. Everyone was crap, man. I hear you. I'm not with the whole thingy. 90 plus 8 minutes limping. I must admit, this whole Saka limping thing, I hear it. Social media got to run agendas, and you know what? They hate Saka. At the end of the day, I don't really care what anyone has to say about him. He's doing the job. He's doing the job for us, but he's getting kicked from pillar to post, man. But it is what it is. Havertz was decent first half. I don't think it was a terrible first half from us, but I don't know what was said at halftime in our changing rooms. I don't know what was said in Nuno Emre's changing room. The Villa came out on stuff. They're called the villains for a reason, and we didn't take heed of that, man. Did not take heed. Emre has Arteta's number. What? Off the top of my head, it's probably been more, but we bucked him 3 times. We played him in a European competition in the semi-finals. You knew he wasn't getting nothing in the Europa League against him. You know, different reasons, but fundamentally we lost. You know, at their place, I actually think for the large majority of the game, we was a lot better at Villa Park than we was at the Emirates. You know, we just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And there's always context, you know. I might sound a bit weird, but there's been games we've lost, and I've been a bit happier than in games we've won because of the performance. But as we all know, it's a results-driven business. And from August to May, yeah, we can dissect performances and everything. But if you're talking about winning the league title, all that matters is in May, how much have you won, lost, or drawn? And we've shot ourselves in the foot, and we're making it harder than it needs to be, essentially. And with us having to go to Old Trafford, welcome Chelsea, North London Derby, you know, we can't look beyond Wolves away, thin squad, ultimately going to have to get on with it. Think not having an actual eight is catching up with us now has to be the priority in the summer. I think Arsenal fans are too romantic. If I'm brutally honest, I think we're too romantic. Take nothing away from Jorginho, but you knew you're not going to get to the promised land without finding midfielders. You knew Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz is doing his thing. He's decent in the squad, but you're not going to get over the line. This is not Disney Channel. There's going to be some romantic stories and moments and stuff, but when it gets to the nitty gritty and you need the tugs them to stand up, this is what happens. Trossard against fresh legs is underwhelming. Only balls against tired legs. Bit harsh, but I hear it. Happy belated birthday. Appreciate that. I agree that the lineup was wrong, but we still have some games left. That second half was ish all round. Hands up that Emre got it right by cutting out our feeding lanes. Everyone's got to take accountability. Richard, appreciate that. I mean, Mikel Arteta said Odegaard had a knock. Me, I was baffled. I was really, really baffled. I can't talk on things, but Odegaard didn't look happy when he came off. I don't think that he needed to come off. And I think last season we saw it as well. Whenever Odegaard's come off, we've lost a lot of control in games, man. I don't like the way Arteta kept playing Zinni, even though he was ish. One thing I really want is for us not to finish 8 points behind City now and go outside. Let's go out like next year's potential champions. But hey, gonna have to see what gone. Personally, no, unless Odegaard gets 5, Smith Rowe at least 6, Odegaard gets a second, 7. Sloppy defensively in both fullback spots. Saliba and Gabriel definitely didn't have the game we expect from them, no doubt. But without dodging their criticism, I think the fullback shafted us. Everyone's got to take blame, man. I hear that. Man are over egging it right now. Thank you for being deluded. I mean, YouTube is not the best place to, YouTube and social media is not the best place to have balanced debates. As we know, that's not what's going to trend. It's not what's going to get engagements. You've either been shit or you've been good. Like, amazing. We need an elite attack, bro. We need a winger that's pacey. We need someone that can share the burden with Martinelli and Trossard and Saka. We need a striker. There's so much things internally we need to do better as well because we're slipping back into bad habits. But one good game don't make you. A bad game don't make you. I actually think Odegaard is the best player in the world right now. We were great with him, not even mid-table without him. Couldn't progress, keep, or regain the ball without him. I don't know about the best of all time. I mean, best in the world right now, but Odegaard's doing his thing, man. Squeaky bum time and we're failing. Boy. Arteta has to go 2 seasons on the bounce and bottling it. No, not for me. I mean, if you can show me some, and I'm not saying this to keep Mikel Arteta, I love what he's doing. I like what he's doing. I defo feel he's not free from criticism. And he's another one that I feel, not necessarily you or anyone here, but Arteta's the best thing since sliced bread. Like he's he's the second coming of Jesus. And then there's some people that he's not good at all. I think if you rate someone this highly and stuff, then when we win, by all means, gas him up. When we lose, I have to ask questions. And I think there's a lot of things that ultimately Arteta has to hold himself accountable. This is your squad. This ain't a squad you inherited. And the players you have inherited, you're using them where you want to. You've brought in big money signings. For the large part, we've showed improvements. We're unhappy about one loss in 2024, one loss in the league in a hot minute, competing with City and Liverpool. There's a lot to like, but can you get over the line? I'm not too sure. And I do think the conversation is shifting to, can you deliver a title? We're shooting ourselves in the foot. Ultimately, there's always one. I always say it. Like when Arteta came out a few months ago and said we've got one of the finished squad in the league, we all knew it, but that really made me sick to my stomach because we're not learning our lessons essentially, really. And then we do this thing where I'm not getting at no one, yeah, but it's like we get clouded with the likes of Jorginho, Kiwior, Trossard, Kai Havertz's form, kind of the squad players like that, if that makes sense. How many guys can you bet in August until May are going to do the business? There's only a couple in our team, whether they played well or not. Regardless of what's happened, for the large part, Saliba, Gabriel, 2 player of the season candidates, Benjamin White the same, Odegaard the same. Say what you want about Saka, the numbers are there. He's doing what needs to be done. Odegaard, finally, people are seeing the quality he brings. I don't even know how many names I've said there, but there's that. Then there's question marks about the whole other squad. Tomiyasu, great player. Can you stay fit? Partey the same. Jorginho's not someone you can bet on for 30 of the 38 games, as we've seen. I like Raya, and I'm not saying criticizing, but the jury's still out on Raya naturally. You know, Martinelli, great player, keep him in the squad, but volatility in terms of the numbers. Got a lot of time for Gabriel Jesus. I know a lot of you wouldn't, but there's been times you've been unreliable, both on the pitch and your lack of fitness. So when I'm scratching my head for about 7 players and we've got a 20-man squad over a 38-game period, boy. But yeah, man, ultimately, that's it for me with Arteta. I'm keeping him. I see more reasons to keep him than get rid of him. If you can present me someone that fits the philosophy better than Arteta, someone that's more street smart than Arteta, and someone that, while we can't guarantee things, can get us over the line, then it's not Arteta FC. Cut from the team if that's what you want to do. For me, keep the man though. One big issue is the time of the subs too. Villa 55 minutes on Leon Bailey, comes on and scores the winner. I don't know, man. There has been times, to be fair to Arteta, where we've said he needs to get subs on, and he's either brought them on at unpopular times or not brought them on, and we've got the result. Likewise, when it hasn't happened, we find ourselves speaking about what we're speaking about today. Sometimes subs can have the reverse effect. Sometimes as a manager, I guess you're seeing different things. But to me, as an ignorant fan, the subs need, like Tomiyasu needs to come on sooner. There's times where Arteta shows a lot of proactiveness. You know, Kyrgios's been hooked at least twice, maybe even 3 times at the end of the first half in game. So I wanted to see a bit more of that. I do think our players look a bit leggy. I think there has to be a correlation with Saliba, Gabriel, Saka, Benjamin White, you know, all looking leggy at this moment in time, but it's not an excuse. Regardless of if you're tired, you lot are street smart enough to know what you need to do, and we didn't do that yesterday, so have to hold our licks. DG, would you sack Arteta if he doesn't win a trophy this season? 1 trophy in 5 years. We've won a trophy already. No. Honestly, no. Like, I wouldn't sack Arteta because we are making progress. Is it at the speed I would like to see? Is it getting a league title under the table? You know, are we making things harder than it needs to be? As much as I think there's some variables he's had to, you know, get over the line and correct, that's not of his fault. I think there's also been self-inflicted issues where you look at the squad depth, reliance on certain players, not bringing in addressing certain positions, still relying on certain players that have issues with injuries, still coming out in however many years he's been here and saying we've got one of the thinnest squads. In the same way I praise this club for a lot, I have to ask questions because this is ultimately what we're going to fall short by. When we're at our best, we can compete, but also to win a league, it's about how good you are at your worst. And a lot of our wins, we've been good, but we actually haven't been that amazing. Right now, it's a bump on the road, man, really. And I'm not saying this as a luxury to keep him, but like, and I'm not the decision maker, but as I said, if you can present me someone that fits what Arsenal need to do, can do better than what Arteta is doing with what we demand of him, get it done, innit? It's in the same way I love Bukayo Saka at right wing, for example. But if there was a young player twice the ability of Bukayo Saka who plays in his position and you want to bring him in, get it done, innit? It's as simple as that, man. Zinchenko is a scapegoat, man. And I'm not happy with, I am not happy with, I like the sportsmanship that Zinchenko showed, putting the ball out and the compassion, but I'm not here for it really because the ref ain't done it and it's not a head injury. Questions should be asked on the closest player to Bailey and why that player wasn't switched on defensively. Martinelli, Declan Rice. If you go and look at the goal again, Gabriel, Saliba, Declan Rice, they're all ball watching. None of them are marking. You know, none of them are marking appropriately. They're all flat-footed. They're all second best. You know, Paul Torres has done well for that. Kai Havertz hasn't done well enough. Martinelli, who's improved a lot defensively, obviously doesn't naturally think like a defender. He's switched off. I think, you know, if you're going to blame Zinchenko, once again, you need to go and look at everything. But football is one of those things where people are only going to see what they want to see, essentially. And I always say, I don't tell you what to think, just think. First goal is on Martinelli and Rice. The defense has reshuffled after the corner. It's got nothing to do with him. Both Martinelli and Rice lose Bailey at the back post. People don't want to call out their faves. Jorginho is the true double agent, my G. Probably, but Jorginho for the large part has done his thing. A lot of these players have been good, but a lot of them are not guys to get us over the line. If I'm honest, it would have been romantic to win this league title with Kai Havertz up front and a couple of players that were considered castaways, but it's not that thing. We need to be a lot more ruthless, but we go again. I expect Arsenal to address like 95% of our personnel issues this summer. Backup wingers that can put pressure on Saka and Nelly. No more left-back Zinni, as I would rather see him do a Jorginho role. I hear it. One thing I hate is that our fan base love to scapegoat. Havertz, Zinchenko, Jesus, Raya. Where was Saka and Rice yesterday? I hear you, but for me, I take it one step further. I don't like scapegoating. And I also don't like this whole, you're going at Zinchenko. What about Saka? What about this? They all play for the same team. Everyone was shit. Everybody hold licks. As I always give the example, you know, when you're a little kid and you've got multiple siblings or cousins and whatnot, if somebody breaks a pot in your grandma's room, in your grandma's house or your granddad's house, are they going to go and ask who did what, or is everybody getting slaps? Everyone needs to get slaps. I'm surprised how poor you lots are yesterday. And at this point in the season, it's the worst time for that, really and truly. And again, this is why you can't win every game, of course, but this is why every game matters in the season, because the more you F up off the back of how our year ended, and a couple of times before that we shot ourselves in the foot, you have less margin to kind of get claw back, really. You know, we've done well for the large part of the season, and I'm not saying we can win every game, and we can't go back in time, but we've shot ourselves in the foot. Chelsea away, Spurs away, West Ham at home, Newcastle away, Aston Villa away, and at home now. Definitely the 2 games against Fulham. There's been a lot of the times we haven't done what's required, man. It was like Arsenal Vode yesterday. This game was literally a repeat of Brighton home last season, all to play for, but we played like there was nothing on the line. And I guess based on that, emotionally, is there issues around the squad or the players, really? Smith Rowe should have brought him down, but I'll say that's due to lacking match fitness and sharpness. He's going to get sent off then, isn't it, really? And I'm not gonna, I can't get at Smith Rowe. You're the only one that switched on. You're not a centre back. You're not a defender. You've tried the thing. I think you've been deserted by, you know, Jorginho's played the pass. We've been killed on the transition. Nobody is there. I won't blame David Raya because he's our last line of defense, and you kind of have to succumb to what's ahead of you. But it's a great finish by Ollie Watkins. Not only the obvious with the chip, but the calmness to kind of relax and assess what Raya's doing. Go and watch that again. I'm not really happy with even Raya's position. As I said, he's definitely not the first or anyone to blame, but he's kind of come off his line, then ran back, then come off. It's a bit half-hearted, and I think at times you need to take control of those situations. Kai just has to be a utility man. I'm tired of Kai being rated for dragging out defenders. I'm not going to lie. I'm not trying to see Kai Havertz in midfield again. If I'm honest with you, it's actually appalling. Like, it's quite mediocre, if I'm completely honest. But Arteta, you're going to live or die by the squad. This is who you assembled. And for the large part, they've been doing from August till now, you've been doing whatever. Whether they're good enough to get over the line, Arteta, you've assembled them. You know, on one hand, a tradesman is only good as the tools he's got available. But is he getting the most out of these tools? Are these tools, you know, cut up to task? Because it feels like we're trying to dig a hole with a toothpick at times, which you're going to be there forever, aren't you? Ryan needs to make crucial saves when we're up against it. I hear that. And his positioning could have been better at Bayern Munich as well. But Raya's only effed up of recent when the whole team's effed up. I still think there's teething problems with Raya 100%. I still, apart from obviously doing your thing against Porto, I still think the jury's out. I haven't been wowed by my keeper per se. But I think you're just, you know, I think he did well at Anfield, to be fair. But I think when you're the people in front of you, when they're at 6s and 7s, it's issues. The keeper's the last line of defense. I don't think Raya's positioning has been good. And I think Raya's got an issue with that. You saw it with Chelsea away with that freak Mudryk goal. Maybe the goal should have been disallowed against Newcastle when he's not alone, but there's that. I don't think the, you know, with Raya, for me anyways, I like him. I think he's been a good signing. You're doing your thing. I'm definitely not saying you're not good enough. But when it comes to the ball playing, the modern day keeper stuff, basically being a centre back and offering a passing lane, I'm cool with all of that. Your distribution, you know, I must admit, I think your collecting from crosses is a bit overrated, but cool. Where I'm looking at traditional keeping or your positioning, there's issues there with Raya, if I'm honest. Giroud wasn't getting no ratings for link-up play. He cost like 12 M's. That's true. It annoys me because Villa are top side, but have not been playing that well recently. It reminds me of when we lost 3-0 to Brighton at home end of last season after they got slapped 5-1 at home to Everton. And that just shows you, you know, you can't take anyone for granted. I won't accuse Mikel Arteta of these players of underrating or underestimating Aston Villa because I don't think we're that smug. But ultimately, we were shit. It's as simple as that. And we did not do what we needed to do. And, you know, every now and again throughout the season, there's been opportunity. Liverpool and City, well, Liverpool, I don't know about now, but they had the least defeats in the Prem up until a point. City. There's not going to be too many times that they drop points, and you want to see our team take advantage of it. It's building blocks, you know. Again, in terms of building blocks, one thing that can be reflected is we can fairly compete with City now. We played them 3 times this season, done what we've needed to do. We've taken 4 points off Liverpool, and we played well in the FA Cup, but we went out. Now it's not just about playing well; it's about getting jobs done. Can you go to the Etihad next season and get 3 points? Can you go to Anfield, regardless of how shit Man United have been? Can you go to Old Trafford where we struggle at and get points? I don't know, man. Hey, DJs, it ain't over till it's over. Amen, Liam. Arteta got it all wrong, playing one half football with no controller. The one we had a party on the bench. Arteta's got to hold that. I don't know why Partey's on the bench. And I've been thinking that now with obviously Bayern Munich. I would also say Luton, Brighton, Aston Villa now. How fit are these players? Because again, Arteta, maybe he just didn't bring him off the bench because he didn't believe he's the best option. But you've got players that you brought to this football club for this very reason. We've been waffling about we need our whole squad. There's very few, I don't want to say reliable players because that's not fair, but there's very few players I believe are reliable in this team. We've got a lot of good players on their day, but players I believe in for 30 of the 38 game calendar. If your name's not Declan Rice, Saliba, Gabriel, Benjamin White, Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, if I haven't said that. And I'm not saying they're going to be amazing for 30 games beyond that. I'm not saying we have got bad players. I've got time for Gabriel Jesus. Zinchenko frustrates me. Don't think he's a terrible player. Tomiyasu got a lot of time for you. David Ryan Ramsdale, you're calm. Kirill, you're doing your thing. Trossard, you're doing your thing. Jorginho, good player. Partey, quality player. It's just the other baggage. I don't have the same level of confidence, and I can't say that, essentially. It goes without saying that Liverpool's performance was terrible as well, but at least they charged from minute 1 to 90. We looked slow, demotivated, and had no urgency. I must admit, the Bayern Munich, the 2 games last week I would say also it extends to Porto away, in that it felt like the Arsenal of old. Like there's been many times we've responded, in my opinion, very well to adversity and got the job done. But the games that I said there, it's like people are looking at someone else. Like, are you going to make the difference? Before that or other occasions, everybody's looked like they've taken initiative, if that makes sense. It was a mess. Selection. All Emre did was stay in the game and counter. That's what you got to do. Street smartness, really and truly. It's evident street smartness because Mikel Arteta, you've come up against Thomas Tuchel and Emery, respectfully to all the managers, 2 of the better managers in football, very experienced, won a lot, done a lot, given a lot to the game. And if that's the case, then that tells you that experience is overrated, but it can't be overstated because, as you said, you stay in the game, be street smart. Obviously, Arsenal are a good team, respect them in certain aspects, but they'll give you opportunities. And in the last 2 games we've played now at the Emirates, dropped off a cliff defensively. I famously said last season and the year before that I think we're an improved defensive side, not necessarily a good defensive side. And I think I said it last week or the week before. I have to take that back and say I do think we're a good defensive side. Now I'm thinking, boy, you know what? Boy, I don't know. It's very emotional. And again, bad games happen. Sometimes it's just a shit day at the office. And if it is that, get that out of your system. But as Tan said, it's come at the wrong time. Smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't. DJ, I'll be honest, this season Zinchenko's been woeful, even when we've been good. But separately, I've got some words for our fans. I'm ashamed of our attitude as a group. Zinchenko's not a reliable guy, man. You wouldn't want to, if you went to a nightclub and people tried to cause you grief, and you were about to get rushed, Zinchenko isn't someone you want at your side, man. Ben White was getting cooked by Zinolio the whole second half. It was long. I don't think he was getting cooked, but even if he was, again, like I will allow Ben White because 9 times out of 10, you've stood up to be counted in big games. We can count on one hand the terrible games Ben White's had. But that's the thing. When these guys are not quite at it, when Saka's not on it, Odegaard was, but if Saka's not on it, if Odegaard's not on it, if Rice, Saliba, Gabriel, Ben White are not quite on it, who's taking the mantelpiece? Couple players have stood up to be counted on occasion, but who can we truly rely on? When the team start racking up yellows, we are in a struggling game. There you have it there, man. Do you see that Zinchenko clip on Twitter? I mean, I must admit, I'm not here for I am here for the inverted fullback stuff, but Zinchenko's pros don't outweigh his cons. I think, again, in relation to Aston Villa, I think people are doing too much. If we get a decent offer for Zinchenko and we can assure Tomiyasu, Timber, Kirill keeps up his form, maybe bringing another versatile defender Zinchenko, you can F off. It is what it is. You're not that 30. But I do think there's a use for him in certain degrees. And I do think there's been some good games for him. But saying that, he's an issue defensively. We've got better. One love for him for introducing this inverted role. And I guess there's been some experience he can bring us off the back of his City days. But it's a madness. It's an absolute madness. And that's the volatility because I thought Zinchenko did quite good off the bench against Bayern. But yeah, man. Big up. Remember to hit the like and subscribe if you are and follow if you're new here. Appreciate that. Twitch ones. Havertz is decent, but he didn't solve either the centre mid or striker role. We still don't really have a decent left back. Would Tini really have done worse? I mean, Arteta was hung up on the inverted stuff. And I think Tini said to the manager, look, yeah, Kirill's ahead of me. Tommy's ahead of me. He brought in Timber. Zini's ahead of me. I need to go and play football, and he's gone and done that. I would have loved to. There's been many a times where I would have loved to have had Tini to start games on occasion, not for the large part this season, but on occasion, or to see out games. But ultimately, again, the manager's going to have to live or die by that. We definitely need to utilize Partey, Tommy, Vieira, and Timber if available down the stretch. I don't know with 6 games left for Timber, I'll be real. For the idiot saying Arteta out, oh, that's crazy. I mean, Richard, what I will say, I don't agree with Arteta out. I don't back the man religiously to the point where Arteta, you know, he's not Pep at this moment in time. He's not achieved what Wenger's achieved, Pep's achieved, Klopp's achieved. For me to blindlessly follow him, for me, I think he deserves to stay. I think there's definitely a lot of question marks. I feel there's certain mistakes he's made in the last 2 seasons, for as good as he's been, where I kind of want you to learn from that. But, you know, if they're, you know, for the fans out there that provide balance and logic and they're not doing the screaming and kicking, if for them fans that genuinely want Arteta gone or to stay, I've got all the time in the world. What I'm not for is these, you know, it's like Arteta's got a cult-like following in a positive sense. Well, for the toxic positive, like the man can't do anything wrong. He can't get anything wrong. That doesn't happen. There's nobody like that. And for the people that, you know, anytime there's an Arsenal bump or bruise, they're ready with their pitchforks. Who the hell was clouded by Kiri and Jorginho? They did what they were supposed to do, fill in. But Arteta put them in big games consistently, poor management. Teta's subs made the difference in the City game, but he doesn't always get it bang on. I don't expect him to, but that's what I'm saying. When you do your thing, I give you a praise. If I think you could have done better, I have to be honest with you, lot. I don't want to lie to you, lot. If it's raining outside, I ain't telling you, lot, it's sunny. If Arteta doesn't win nothing by the end of next season, he needs to go in my eyes. We gas our squad as world beaters. But we're moving like England, all hype. When are we all seeing the results trophy-wise? That's a question that these lot have to answer, man. Why is everyone panicking? They just need to beat Bayern and knock out Man City when Timber returns to the team. It's simple. If only football was that simple, man. Vieira ain't doing anything. Failed by. Move on. Lokonga, Tavares, Vieira not good enough for the squad. It's okay. Move them on. Us dropping points to Villa means that Spurs might not get top 4. And going out against Bayern means they don't get enough points for 5th to get the Champions League. This is Arteta's plan. I mean, if it is, then, boy, I have to ask, do you really want the best for Arsenal Football Club? Timber better get ready for the weekend. I'm tired of Zinni being a liability. Let's take our time with Timber. We know he needs to get back to full fitness. We know he's coming back from an ACL. We don't know when he has 90 minutes. Mikel Arteta has said he needs to play for the 21s, which he might. Well, I don't know, but Arsenal's under 21s are playing today, Monday. If you're watching this on a replay, maybe he gets opportunities there. But I very much doubt that means you're going to then be in contention to play on the Wednesday against Bayern or against Wolves. I want to see Timber back. But even that, if I'm not saying you, but if Timber goes and starts, bearing in mind he's been out for a while and he looks rusty, I'm not saying you're saying this, but you know how football fans are. The same fans going Timber. When he has that inevitable mistake or rusty moments or elements, they're going to get at him. I'm never going to kill a manager or a player for making mistakes. Mistakes happen. It's a 38-game calendar. As long as the positives outweigh the negatives, which for the large part is done. But it does feel like in the last 2 or so years, we've come close, but we're not. We're so close, but we're so far. Gee, there was another situation where Villa had a man down and they continued with 10 men, but Zinni wanted to kick it out when we are near the final third. I'm not happy with him for that, man, if I'm honest with you. And the lack of depth, we've been here before, man. This team needs slaps. Is it time to move on Jesus? I'm keeping Jesus, but again, I've said it before. We need to learn from City. Zinchenko and Jesus were squad players. Keep them as squad players. We tried to make them first team regulars. It would have been romantic if with an opportunity to show that they, you know, could do the thing. They couldn't. Squad guys, more so Jesus. I'm not going to lie like Zinni, but if rumors are true, every now and again, we see rumors that there's certain offers of 40 million with 2 years left on his deal. For me, as much as I wouldn't, Zinni wouldn't be one of the first names on the exit board for me. But if you get 40 odd million, which has been rumored, boy, you gotta take that. If I'm honest, if I'm honest, facts, DG. But man, get us certain guys they don't like. Everyone needs to get that slipper for grandma. There you have it, man. I had a feeling Villa would do us. Perfect away performance from them. Unai has Arteta's ticket. He's only beaten him once in 5 games. There you have it, man. You don't build a squad like this just to participate and not take over. Whether it's the Yaraba or the Champions League, we need to start seeing trophies. I agree. But would you say this is a Premier League winning squad? I think they're developing that. For me, it's not, because I don't want to sound snooty. I like the movement we're going on in the trajectory. I don't have a 20 league goal, man. And I don't have an experienced individual like a Mo Salah who can play out wide. We're relying on Saka and he's done that, but he's still a youngish sort of player. I think there's too much inconsistencies in the middle of the park. I think Odegaard gives me great consistency in that regards. I think Declan Rice has been a revelation, but we're missing that left 8, which on occasion we've been able to get it done, got the job done. Every now and again, things are rearing the head. As you saw, if Trossard starts, there's not really much saying from our bench. Ain't really got much depth defensively, and I'm not finding excuses, but there are every couple of games, there are times I look at Benjamin White, Gabriel, and Saliba, and I'm not saying any of them should be on the bench, but if we had better depth, how better would they be? Obviously, inconsistencies at left back. Yes, Timber's injury threw up probably a massive spanner in Mikel Arteta's works, just based on having that depth in that position and what he could have meant for maybe for Martinelli or who plays ahead of him. But there's a big hole on the left-hand side. Jorginho, quality player, but in terms of longevity and just consistency, you don't know what you're going to get with 90 minutes. Thomas Partey, we've been here, a bit like Tomiyasu, we've been here. These are things that Arteta's been here long enough. We're saying the same thing over certain players. We know Tomiyasu and Zinchenko get injured. Our left-hand side, there's a massive hole. I love what we got on the right-hand side when Benjamin White pulls over there. Odegaard's there, Saka's there. But hey, that part of me, it's a madness. It's jarring. DG, would you have started Partey yesterday? Personally, yes, but we could have started Partey and still got moved to. So where would we be at with that? Hayland is over. We only got Saka out of it. The rest need to be sold. That is harsh. Just cool, man. We got some good players. It's cool, man. Just cool. Shout yourself, Jamie. Never understood that. Why would you not leave a defender back? Too much naivety in this team. Playing Kai in midfield showed me a lack of respect for Villa. I disagree because I think we needed to. And you are getting into a dangerous territory when you praise players for putting in a shift. But Kai does do that. I just don't. I think off the ball, Kai's great in midfield. Like, you put in a shift. You'll put yourself around, you'll do all of that. On the board, there's nothing there. Like, there's nothing there really and truly. Yeah, cool. You make the runs in behind. I think the striker thing is Kai because you got that luxury to drop into midfield on occasion, link up, win, chase, lost causes, and you're kind of out with that build-up play. I thought Mikel Arteta personally would have learned from that. If you had to do it, you had to do it, which goes back to the lack of depth. But I thought he would have learned from that with the Porto game away from home. You saw the build-up plays crippled. We're a yard slower, really. There's just too much hot and cold players in the team. There's not enough unanswered questions. Line up for the Alliance, DG. Probably more one to focus on tomorrow, but off the top of my head, obviously, Raya, Gabriel, Saliba, Benjamin White, Tomiyasu, 1,000,000% Tomiyasu is starting that game. But then, Kirill, stay warm. Zini, stay warm. Stay warm. Midfield, for me anyways, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, Thomas Partey, Saka on the right. Kai Havertz, your guy up front. On the left is Techie because I'm not really getting enough from any of the people I want to say. Part of me wants to start Martinelli, not getting enough. Trossard was a bit of a hero against Bayern Munich. Super sub, respectfully to him. Not getting enough in another start from him. Gabriel Jesus, positive off the bench against Bayern Munich. Not getting enough. If you put a gun to my head, then Trossard, you'd be on the bench. It'd be between the two Brazilian boys. Gabriel Jesus. I knew we didn't rate Emery at Arsenal, but I have to give him credit. He gets the best out of the strikers. He does, man. He does. Essentially, look what Ollie Watkins is doing. And you saw Ollie Watkins giving it to Troy Deeney. Exactly. If the manager picks his line up, then we're allowed to ask questions. Arsenal always makes us sad in April. They must have ruined some of your birthdays, DG. They have, but like at some point I have to take control of my own happiness. And yeah, man, and thank the Lord it was on the Sunday, innit? Really and truly appreciative to you lot's comments. People smash the like button. Raya has been average for the most part. His positioning is atrocious, and this is not the first time he's done it. I hear that. I did like Arteta's post-game comments, as he even recognized there are things we've gotten away with defensively since January. Things I've been saying, but the problem is, again, back to that toxic positive and toxic negative. It's when Arsenal lose, people want to hear stuff. It's when you win, people don't want to start. It starts becoming a dictatorship, man. You've got a lot of, let's be honest, there's a lot of content creators and people with big platforms. They're intellectually dishonest because they're twerking to be involved with the football club. And then there's some people that just no engagement gets them stuff. So they just want to do the waffling and boy in the team and this player shit, that player shit, did the world shit. Why can't we just have an honest conversation? Like, I don't know, man. But nonetheless, Aston Villa wanted it more than Arsenal yesterday. 100%. They smelt blood and they were street smart. Even with the sub. Instant impact from Bailey and credit to Emery. I don't rate Kai, never have. I must admit, like I said, I think Kai's calm. I think you're a calm squad player. think you're a calm squad player. I do think there are luxuries we give Kai Havertz that the average footballer we're not going to say are positives. What I would say is, to a degree, he's kind of, well, in fact, he has turned around his Arsenal future, because he is, I just said it, Bayern Munich, one of the first names on the team sheet for me. And at some point, you have to accept players for what they are. Like Kai Havertz is never going to be sexy and build-up play. He's never going to be the most eye-catching player. So let's just utilize the man for what he's good at. At this moment in time, he's in a great patch of form up front. Keep the man up front. Gabriel Jesus never going to be a good goal scorer. Utilize him in the squad. Jorginho can give you 10 real great games, and I'm not dissing him, 10 real great games over a 38-game period. So don't rely on him to have to play if there's injuries. Because we have not replaced Granit Xhaka. He's gone off and won a title, pick him up. You know, we're relying on Jorginho and Partey, who cannot really stay fit and have their own inconsistencies. God forbid anything happens to specifically Saliba, Gabriel, and Benjamin White. We're in big trouble. I like what Raya's brought to the table, but I'm not going to sit here and say he's 100%, you know, convinced me. If you haven't smashed the like button, you know what to do. Appreciate that. Yeah, Arteta has next season to prove he has what it takes to get over the line. He's probably got a new deal and signed it. Exactly, Zinni wants to play in midfield. He's a liability defensively. I must admit, though, if you're a liability at fullback defensively, you're going to be a mad liability in the middle of the park, really. Unless it's a thing where you're going to come on occasionally, like in them circumstances where Odegaard came off yesterday, you're going to come on. Great. I don't feel great having Jorginho, Declan Rice, and Zinchenko disregard Odegaard for a sec. You know, Odegaard's never going to be praised for it. But you lose Odegaard, you lose control on the ball, you lose a lot defensively. Declan Rice is the handbrake of the team. Jorginho hasn't got the legs and has never been praised for his defensive work. Big him up, though. Zinni will go to sleep. So there are games, but yeah. Everyone except Odegaard I won't repeat that. Zinni reminds me of Xhaka during his Emery era. The further he plays from the back line, the better for us. Why not use him as an 8? There must be some reluctance, really, because he didn't get an opportunity to consistently do that at City, and it's not happened at Arsenal at this moment in time. So, yeah, man, I'm not sure. If we score some of these chances in the first half, it'd be a different story. But, wow, Jesus almost looks to miss. Harsh. But you're right. It would be a different story. It would be. But that's football, really, really and truly. Like, that's life, really. So we can only deal with... You're definitely right, but we can only deal with what's exactly happened. And what exactly happened for me is we threw it away in the second half. In fact, in the last 6 minutes, you can't win them all. But on reflection, yes, I would have loved to have scored. I would have loved to create it, you know. But before their first goal went in, our boys should have sat there and said, you know what, boys, fair enough. We would have loved to have won. Emre's team are showing us something. They're fighting for top 4. It's not looking like we can win. Don't lose. Nobody do dumb stuff. We done stuff and switched off defensively for the first. Second, generally, I allow the team because we're chasing it. And then you kind of, that's what's going to happen. You're open. Arteta is going to build a 6 squad, and the next manager will do all the winning by keeping it simple and obviously selections better yet. Yo, DG, defo upset but got hope. Zinni can't play the 8 when there's pressure. He fumbles every pass. He's lucky Telemans didn't bang in from his mistake. Boy, I've said it for a while. I don't want to see Timber this season. Next season, calm. He can come back. Hate the cliche, but he'll be like a new signing. Timber can't contribute now. Everything is do or die. Can't do that to a guy recovering from an ACL. If we can wake up and he's fit to play some part, I'm for it because it'd be nice for him. But at the same time, like, it's unfair, like you said. Arteta needs to start learning from his mistakes, go into the summer and bring in a 30 striker and midfielder to play with Rice. Jesus is a squad player only. Thought it was the wrong to start Jesus yesterday. I hear it. 40 for Zinni. I'm helping back. Criticism is a good thing. However, there doesn't seem to be middle ground for most content creators or fans. City and Liverpool didn't get here overnight. Major trophies are coming to the carpet soon. Richard, I agree, but then there's all vested interest, really. That's why people are not honest. DG, please. Who's Arteta's immediate boss and how much does he know about football better than Arteta? I mean, it's the Cronkies, isn't it? Like, no one from a footballing sense. It's the Cronkies, isn't it, really? I wouldn't say Edu's not. It's a Cote. Edu's not even his superior. So it is what it is, man. It was working lovely with Kai false 9, Rice, Havertz, Jorginho, Odegaard in midfield, Kirill, White inverting. Arteta went back to the team that won 1 win in 7. So there you have it. Isaac or Watkins or 40 million Tony. Rayta, if you're asking me out of them 3, bring Isaac. You saw him against Spurs. Isaac's the waviest of all of them. Watkins, I've told you, I've said it before. I was like, because when we was linked with Ivan Tony and the Tony propaganda, I've been saying it. You can go back in my videos. I said, if you rate Tony, you have to want Watkins. But it's more like Watkins is going to be difficult to obtain. So I would say if none of that was a thing, Isaac first, Watkins second, and then Tony third. I just think Watkins has got everything, can work the channels, he's quick, doesn't need too many chances, and he's shown his quality, man. And I just like his attitude. I don't want to be that attitude done, but he's got that. I'm happy with Zinni in the Jorginho role as Saliba and Gabby can recover same way they do it for Jorginho. Yeah, but you're asking them to do too much. I'm not, What's going on with guys like Vieira? We cutting our losses. I mean, I wouldn't give up with Vieira, but the way it's heading, you can't be relied upon, isn't it, really? Do you go on loan? Does Arteta give you a chance? I know that for me, I need to see. I think we're only going to get one centre mid, but I think you need to get 8 and a 6. And I would like to rock up next season and have, Declan Rice, you can play as a 6. You've got an 8. You've got Odegaard. You've got another like centre mid that's likely to play in like the Partey and Jorginho roles. You've got 4 of them. Then you've got, if they're still here, which we don't know, the Fabio Vieiras, I guess Kai Havertz, the Smith roles, all them guys, Zinchenko, all them guys that can, in theory, play in midfield, do what you want, Arteta, but need some other stuff. Title, big up my guy Ace. Title race over City winning all the last games. The dream is free. The hustle is sold separately. We've shot ourselves in the foot. A part of me thinks we need more experienced players, but how far does that experience thing go? Because Raya was out there. You've played in the Prem for a while. Rice has got significantly experienced. Jorginho, Kai Havertz, Zinchenko, Gabriel Jesus, even the younger players. Like, fair enough. It's just a game of football. Saka's played enough of games. So how far does the experience things? I don't think Benjamin White or Mikel Arteta were prepared for Zenolio's role in particular, if I'm honest. The last games are going to be under pressure, and the team fighting for fourth were more likely to be a challenging game when you're playing every day. When you're playing every second day, it just shows that better players are still needed. Their goal was coming that whole second half, and there was no reaction from the player or the gaffer, even the fans. I could only hear Villa fans on TV. Zinni can't play 8. He's barely press resistant at inverted left back. He'll drown at left centre mid. Well, maybe he needs to drop down a level, man. Do you think we've bottled the league? I don't look at the league table, as I've been saying, so I don't know. But what if you're asking me, it's what you do with this point. You might look back and think about what you could have done, should have done, but you've got it all to do. As stupid as it is, we knew before the game, all you can do is win your games and then make it a conversation. And you have to pray to God Liverpool and City drop points. And we prayed for that. It's happened, but ultimately you've got to take your opportunities, man. So yeah, man. I don't know about hold that, Andrew, because that's a why, but I didn't say anything's world class. Good Arsenal therapy here. One thing I rate about your channel, it's a balanced chat and view you have. That's the way I think as an Arsenal fan. Appreciate that, man. Kimmich would be lit, but do we really believe in any of that? Sly answered that already, my boy. But yeah, as I said, I don't look at the league table, In many ways, winning the league is seeing my team improve, and I've seen Mikel Arteta improve our boys. We're unhappy about not beating Bayern Munich at home, Manchester City away, and not, winning against Villa and whatnot, people. So, yeah, man, I think we're doing all right, man. Define league, to see Saka improving, to see us now financially out of issues where we can sign £105 million Declan Rice, to see the fans in the same, pulling in the same direction. That's winning a league title to me. All right, Andrew, fuck off, man. All right, listen, they can say what they want about Saka. The numbers don't lie. Not doing bad for a left back, and I rate it because if you support Villa, fair enough. But if you support Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, City, Spurs, I understand it. Agenda's got an agenda, but half of you couldn't come to the Emirates or ask go to your place and beat us. So you have to just get your W's where you can. And I know if my team is on course to finish 7th, I know if Klopp's farewell tour isn't going the way, I know when you lot are done boy in my team, there's tears in it. Allow it, man. Check the news, G. Swear that we're getting Zerky, Sesko, Goyakeres as our striker. Out of the 3, Goyakeres is the one I want, then Sesko and Xerxes. Where is that? Like, point me in the right direction. Of course, they bottled it. They stupidly parked the bus at the Etihad with the hope they'll win all their remaining games. They haven't. I hear that, but is it stupid to park the bus at the Etihad? Because if we went gunshot for gunshot and we lost, people wouldn't really be helpful in that regard. I disagree with that comment, and I think it's that age-old thing. I think Arsenal for years, like when we were shitted in this, pardon my language, we definitely done stupidness in the smaller games, but there used to be a time in our lives, anytime we got into a top 6 battle or played any top 6 side, instant write-off or very pessimistic. We still shot ourselves in the foot there. We've still got some teething problems there, 1,000,000%. But it's almost like there's a relative confidence that we can be up for the bigger games. And then we're shooting. And there's been times, you know, we've gone to some difficult teams and done things, but it feels like in the smaller games, we're shooting ourselves in the foot, really. You know, Marco Silva, you know, Emre, them lot are probably going to be selling their game plans to other team managers, really, because they've taken things off us. Real talk, I'm not Arteta out, but give me one example of Arteta buying a player and his value increasing. Jesus, Zini, Jorginho, Havertz, Vieira, all can't be sold for more than we brought them for. I hear that, and there's facts with that, really. Can't disagree with that. Who's really Odegaard? 30 million. He's therefore worth more than 30 million. That's about it. You didn't buy Martinelli. You've improved him, but you didn't buy Saliba, Saka, Martinelli. You could probably get more for Smith Rowe than when he intercepted, but that's a forcing it one. Be lucky to break even on Kirill on the basis of, you know, nothing to do with him, but like it's not set the world alight. I mean, Ramsdale probably break even. Vieira, forget about it. Lokonga, forget about it. Tavares, forget about it. Yeah, probably Odegaard, really. To be fair, Eddie Nketiah, slight. You didn't buy him, but you probably get a decent fee for him. But yeah, man, generally, it's not that thing. Ramsdale could probably get more from what we got from him. We should, but then again, as you know, it's what we can hustle. And how good is Edu when it comes to hustling, really? Because as we know, players are. It's probably gone from what players are worth, then players are worth to what we can actually get. We are dead, and we'll still put the final nail in the coffin at Old Trafford. Andrew, go away, man. The empty barrels make the most noise. This is right. You think you lot can't hurt me? I grew up with an older cousin that supported Man United, and he used to try to tell me Ruud van Nistelrooy is better than Henry. You can't take me over them sides. Oh, thank you for that. We'll get into the transfer news in just a second. In fact, really, let me get all the tabs up. Tab Pilly, she better start looking away. It's gonna get mad. Big you lot up, man, and for keeping me updated on things. Let's put that over there. Let's kind of messed up my flow. I must admit, we've gone a bit left with this, people. You know, I'll be real, because yeah, we wasn't meant to be. An hour and 7 minutes has flown by. Love for the super chat. Don't we need a certain amount of English players? We do, and that's why I don't think Nelson, Ramsdale, Smith Rowe, and Nketiah, all of these guys are just going to be sold. Who knows? We might bring in some, but yeah, man. We're done out here. End the story. Winning against Bayern could save our season for a while longer. Stop being deluded. I don't think we're winning the champs. No one can sit here and tell me I've ever said we're winning the Prem. I've always said I want to be proven wrong. Do you think Arteta is moving towards the Brendan Rodgers role here at Arsenal? I've always disagreed with that. How is he our Brendan Rodgers? Like, when will it, like, it's completely different. I've done a video on it, actually. Check that out, wherever it is. I'd argue Arteta's best signings were already here. So would I. Or the foundation to a degree. Like, that's a bit, in fact, that's a bit disingenuous to say, because I do think he kind of had to rip up the flooring to a degree. But, you know, you rocked up and you used Eddie Nketiah to a point, you know, last season. Saka's been here. Smith Rowe at a point was doing his thing. Martinelli's been here. Saliba's been here. But, in fact, you know what? Going back to that question, you could throw in Gabriel as well. I swear he signed Gabriel. I definitely feel there's something in that. You know, when we've gone for the big money signings or the experience, we've kind of not got whatever. But he brought in Gabriel, good signing. Odegaard, good signing. But yeah, like, I definitely think the jury's still out. I mean, Declan Rice has clearly worked out. But yeah, I do think there's been some luxuries that Arteta has benefited from that Emre didn't. And we've got to remember, at times Arteta is learning on the job, is learning from his mistakes, but is still a relative novice in the game. So he's going to do things like this. And I don't know. Sometimes I look at when we've lost games and I think that's on the gaffer. Sometimes I think it's on the players. But like on Sunday, I think it's a bit of both. I feel fair enough. I wasn't necessarily against the players that started, even though I didn't really want that, but I wasn't against it. When we get to the second half, I think Arteta, now you've kind of effed up, if I'm honest with you. So, yeah, man. Don't know why we took off Odegaard. And Arteta said he had a knock, but it seemed like Arteta was peed off in his press conference, where he's like, when they asked him about Martinelli and Trossard, he's like, well, I'm the manager. We've lost bare money on players, but to be fair, you know, you're going to lose money on big players. Arteta's best signing is Gabriel. Odegaard, I don't know. It's even between them. So, yeah, man. But there therefore has been certain things that Emre did that Arteta got to benefit from. You don't win anything if your intentions are just not to lose. I hear that, but it's a marathon. Like, do you really think, as great as City and Liverpool are, and specifically City, do you really think Pep Guardiola at times hasn't went there and said, you know what, sometimes you've just got to not lose? Look at the Anfield game a few months ago or weeks ago, whenever that second half where Liverpool had them under the cosh. You think Pep didn't go there and say, live to fight another day? It's a marathon, not a sprint. And it's educated risk. Had we have gone for the win against City, yeah, it would have been lovely to win. Would have loved to see us more on the front foot. Therefore, want to see us. The next step is we've shown we can compete at the Emirates. We've shown we can shut up shop against Pep. Can we do a bit of both? But to a degree, we've got to be honest. All managers, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Arteta should have played Tommy from the beginning. He trusted that Zinni would not be tested at the back. Foolish decision. When I see the team sheet, I knew it was going to be a big effing L. And I mean, Arteta had to have been smart. It's Aston Villa. Emery is going to counter-attack. And not to just say they're a counter-attacking side. We kept the RB relatively quiet, but between the RB, Watkins, Telemans with those runs in Olio, there's going to be questions asked. Arteta not learnt from December or from the back end of 2023. It's a bit harsh because we've got one loss in 2024, but I do think he crept back into old habits. Saliba, great signing. But yeah, it was an Emery settings. To be honest with you, of the previous regime, signing Saliba was probably the only thing we got right. And I don't. I think Saka got his contract renewal when Arteta first walked in, innit? Pepper stunk up the place. People call it experience when he does it. You can't win them all. And I would argue, based on that previous comment we're speaking to, I'm not saying you're wrong, but that's the very thing I don't want to see from Arsenal. Sometimes we're too emotional. You need to find that middle ground. Arteta has reached his ceiling. It ain't getting any better than this. We're all having this conversation 12 months ago, DG. Herman, I can't disagree if that's what you're saying. And I don't know there's light at the end of the tunnel, but I disagree in a sense of I've seen us it's still the same issues rearing its head. We're still shooting ourselves in the foot, and many of those things, 1,000,000,000,000,000%. But I do think we're on the right trajectory and we're improving. Whether Arteta can take us to the promised land or whether it be like Moses in the Bible, where I swear he was walking for like 40 years. And, when he led the Israelites out of, wherever it was into the promised land, God said, you know what, your time's done. If it's a thing like that, fair enough, innit? But what I will say is it's not Arteta or bust. Like, if you can pattern off our thing, then fair enough. We need a top striker and a free kick specialist. Simple as. I'd love a free kick specialist. But what is Martinelli as well was a good signing, but that was an Edu signing. One of the few good things Edu has done in this club. Yeah, Martinelli was bought. So yeah, the only two good things we did around that period. There's probably more. I could be wrong, but it's an emotional time, people. Should we see what the current news and talking points connected to our football club is saying? First things first. Unfortunately, Arsenal fans. Wait, what's this? Oh. Forgot to tell you, lot. Tactical analysis coming out at 7 p.m, people. This video, when it's done, will take you over there. The grind don't stop. Arteta said, what you can control is how you're going to feel now. We've got no choice. Now, the way you talk, now, the way you react and look ahead of what is happening on Wednesday, this is in our control. He then said, we cannot control that. What we can control is when you have the run that we had and you win, draw, win. Easy to be a leader, easy to stand up, to stand here, to be around with the flow. It is now. The moment is now. After this blow, how we react, we have the best opportunity to react on Wednesday night against Bayern Munich. And now the team has to show it. We have to make sure that we react in the way that if you want to win, you have to expect to overcome this situation. Fair enough. And get with it, Anytime City lose or Liverpool have lost, it's a crisis. Anytime Real Madrid lose, it's a crisis. We've lost one Premier League game in 2024. It's a crisis. You lot wanted these high standards. We wanted to live this life. We wanted to be in these realms. Get with it, enjoy it, and keep it moving. Can't lie, I agree with Paul Merson in that if there was any small chance of a title, it's over. But I'm a fan. I don't want the players to believe that. Keep going. But yeah, I don't think he's lying. We conceded very poor goals that cost us the game. Yeah, and we didn't create nothing. Declan has said it's not over yet. There's 6 games to go. Yeah, but it's out of our control now, big man. We want to win every game. This is Arsenal. You feel the pressure that you have to win these matches, and we put the pressure on ourselves. We knew today it was nothing but 3 points. Didn't really play like that, if I'm honest with you. Maybe, maybe it's one of them things, but I'm not in the tunnel, Declan. I didn't really see that. That didn't look like a team that knew every game's a cup final, knew the rhetoric we've heard, but fair enough. And we obviously didn't get that in the end, but it's now time for a reaction. If you can't win games of football, don't lose. You look at the clock and you see 15 to go. It's 0-0. If you ain't going to win the game, you take a point. There you have it, really, but we didn't either. Declan also said, since January, no one would have predicted the run we've gone on. I mean, to be fair, you're right. No one predicted being in a title shout last season. Everyone said we'd fall away this year. Everyone else would be amazing. we're still in some sort of conversation. Fuck the noise. Go and do what's needed to be done. But at the end of the day, all that matters is where we start and where we go. And I think it's been good. The large part of the season's been good. There definitely is some improvements on last season, but it's not enough to win a Prem. Some of that is because what you lot have done on the pitch. Some of that is due to Arteta. Some of that, for me, is us not learning from our mistakes. And a big part of it is the personnel. I still feel like there's going to be loads of twists and turns to go. We're in a three-horse title race with two unbelievable sides. But as you can see today with the other results, the Premier League can throw up anything. We can only control what we're going to do. We can really control that. We can even control clearing our lines. Obviously, we didn't do that today. But in the next games, we can control that. 6 finals to go in the Premier League. We'll give it everything. I hope so. I really do. I really do. And I know you lot don't want to see this, but Zinchenko said before, this is why he shouldn't talk. He said before the game, every game is a cup final. And things go wrong. I can't accuse a single player of not caring. I just want to know, is that how you, if that was a cup final, I'd love to speak to these players. If that was a cup final, would you be happy with your performance, whether you won or lost? I don't know, people. There's a lot of talking. There's still a lot of games to play. We're not focusing much on the table, just trying to win every single game. That's all. Every team which is fighting in this competition believe they can do it, and we're definitely one of them. So play like that. The Athletic have offered a piece on Zinchenko himself, people. He was substituted in the 87th minute. He was booed. I don't want to see that, really. Even the players I don't rate. It's not nice, but fans are allowed to voice whatever they want to voice. I just want to go to the listen. Ain't no one trying to read this about Zinchenko. We know his strengths. We know his weaknesses. We know what he's been at Arsenal, good and bad. We know how he played. We know he can play in a lot of roles, but he's not a master of none. Like, would he necessarily be the best 8 in this team? Would he necessarily be the best 10? Is he the best left back? He was part of a team that got some clean sheets last year, but there you have it. There was a part apparently who said in this that were on selling him. Here we go. Zinchenko has 2 years remaining on his contract, typically the moment when clubs decide whether to renew or sell. That might tell you everything. At a time when Arsenal have negotiated new deals for Saka, Saliba, Martin, Odegaard with impressive efficiency, they have not yet entered significant talks with Zinchenko. Arsenal's to-do list for the summer includes the acquisition of a new left-back. That is in itself quite remarkable, given that the club already have 6 potential left backs on the books. How many are pure left backs? Those lying a bit. As well as Zinchenko, there are Kiwior, Tomiyasu. Kiwior is a natural centre back. Tomiyasu can play everywhere. Timbers obviously can play everywhere. Tierney and Tavares, they're forcing it because, you know, I wish Tierney was still here, but we know their days are done, people. We probably need a specialist there. So it is what you make of that. Apparently, Arsenal have moved on from Victor Osimhen as their potential striker candidate because of his 130 million euro asking price is expected to be too high. Arsenal like Josh Rezerski a lot, while Sesko and Gyökeres better yet, are other options. Out of the 3, I like Zerki. I like his playmaking a lot. I think I underrated him in that aspect. But out of these, for me, I would take Sesko. Gyökeres is hard not to have admiration for him. And then probably you in 3rd place. But nonetheless, keeping up that, Arsenal are impressed by Victor Gyökeres' scouting report and are increasingly likely to make an offer for the player at the end of the season. Sporting consider his 100 million euros release clause non-negotiable. I mean, you heard the agent come out and say if their manager leaves, things can happen. And Sporting not silly, you know. You obviously want your release clause of your player to be hit, considering you just bought him. But I think you'll negotiate for a 70, 80 kind of region, which would be a healthy profit. But Arsenal hope to reach an agreement for less, with the possibility of players going the other way, either permanently or on loan. Let's start a little relationship. What are you lot saying for Diamande then, Sporting? I mean, in relation to you lot taking players, we got Tavares, we got Fabio Vieira on loan. But Cedric could have been a good mate wait in January, but he's leaving for free anyways, really. We ain't got time to feel sorry for ourselves. At the end of the day, we've got Bayern Munich away, Wolves away, Chelsea at home, Spurs away, Bournemouth at home, United away, and Everton at home. And we're a weird team, man. There's a reality where the Bournemouth game is probably where we F it up, but Old Trafford scares me. I won't quite say North London derby scares me, but it does. Chelsea at home can go either way. Wolves away. Gary O'Neill, one of the most underrated managers in the Premier League, in my opinion. Bayern Munich, it goes without saying. And to be honest, it could all be said and done by the Everton game with nothing to play for, and that's just a fun day out. Mikel Arteta has spoken, people. We all know about how he feels about losing and the emotions and all of that. But he did sound quite peed off on why he started Trossard over Martinelli, because I'm the manager and I decide the lineup. He's vexed. He's vexed on the mistakes that have appeared in recent games. When the opponents capitalize on those errors, sometimes those errors have been there, but they didn't score and weeks have gone by and nobody talked about it. I did. Because people said I'm finding things where there's not. That's what I like to do. Anyways, there's a part of football. That's a part of football. But unfortunately, they capitalized as well on that. And it's certainly something to improve to give us a better chance to win the game. And Arteta, you weren't proactive enough to take off Zinchenko, the players, because yes, the game was been done, decided in the last 6 minutes. But last time I checked, Villa hit the post twice. Gabriel and Zinchenko had a bit of nonsense. There was warning signs to know that, listen, you mess around, Villa might do something. Yeah, he said Odegaard was feeling something. Personally, I think that's one where the manager's obviously just going to say that he might be. I very much doubt there's a single player of any of the top 6 clubs or in the Premier League that hasn't got a little knock or niggle, but I don't think it made sense to take him off, people. We've spoken about Declan Rice's comments. He said we need a reaction. Big up, Declan. I love the way you front up and face the music, but with that being said, like, the time for talking is long now, isn't it? You just need to get over and done with. We still got a lot of other things to talk about. Arsenal striker hopes dashed. Damn. I mean, we know Cedric Suarez will leave. Oh, Jack Wilshere's applied to be Aberdeen manager. Typical Arsenal lose, and then there's a bunch of stuff coming up. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff to consider, people. Zerski is turning heads with his performances for Bologna. We've heard that. He's got 11 goals and 6 assists in 32 games, which isn't the best. But yeah, I think it's more his playmaking that probably attracts Arsenal. And in line with like the modern striker thing, it can't be his goal scoring exploits because they're not the strongest. Big him up though. So we've gone over that already. João Gomez, the more I look at the Wolves, man, I like him, but he's going to take a lot of money to get him. And obviously, Man United have been linked with him. We've gone over him before. Apparently, while United are also reportedly interested in Gomez, sources indicate that Arsenal are moving ahead in the transfer race. The Gunners are said to be preparing a formal offer, a sign of their serious intentions to secure the young midfielder's services, people. Really decent player, man. But again, it's easy for me to say it, but he's only been at Wolves 2 minutes. Like, and Edu, you're Brazilian, like, should we have grabbed him when he was in Brazil or done something? We'd have saved ourselves a fortune. And there's many different examples of that. Once again, we've gone over this Xerxes thing, people, that Arsenal are interested. Bayern Munich obviously have a buyback clause and a sell-on clause. Apparently 60 million euros, which equates to about 50 odd, could tempt Bologna to sell. So we'll have to see what that's going on. Jack Wilshere has apparently applied for the vacant Aberdeen job, but appears unlikely to get it. We've seen Jack Wilshere linked with a couple of roles. So he's clearly earmarking making the next steps in his managerial career, but it seems like he's unlikely to be departing the under 18 setup anytime soon. Fair enough, though. We know we're not getting Isaac because he's going to cost a lot, and Newcastle would be crazy to sell him. I reckon they sell Bruno Gomares first if they need to sell anybody and whatnot. We've gone over that. We've gone over this Gyökeres stuff. Apparently, the Bologna director has spoken and he said he's bothered by the noise surrounding Motta and a couple of his players, people. Big up Thiago Motta, who's getting a lot of plaudits for his own managerial stuff. I just want to scroll to the Zertsky thing, people. We don't want to change this group in the future. It's annoying to see many of our players linked with other clubs. It's not a nice feeling. Of course not, but the money. People, pardon me. However, I'm sure this has a limited effect on them as they're all focused on our target and happy to be at Bologna. Our club is solid financially thanks to our owner, and we have long-term plans for the club's growth, sporting results, and organizations. We have a long-term vision and financial solidity to continue on this journey. We're in the race with clubs that aim for the Champions League placement every year. Their revenues allow them to plan for the future with those sorts of targets. Fair enough, but everybody's got a price, essentially. Arsenal have a golden opportunity to sign a hugely talented playmaker compared to Mesut Ozil. I bet this is about Arda Güler. You see? I mean, it hasn't quite worked out for him at Madrid. I mean, I'm more than welcome to have him at the carpet. I mean, if you're Real Madrid, surely, just like with Martin Odegaard, you want to loan him out once or twice before you look at that. But we've been linked with him before. Can't begrudge him for joining Real Madrid, especially with their youth project. But it's a tough ask to get ahead of Modric, Kroos, Tchouameni, Camavinga, Valverde. The list goes on. And he's also had his own injury issues, but very talented player. Tierney has casted further doubt on his long-term Arsenal future, even though we knew this. On TalkSport, he said, in football, you never know. It's a bit strange that you come back, it's a bit strange that you can come back the way William Saliba did. It's strange to be on loan for 4 years and then return to play. Football is crazy, so we'll see. I'm not talking to Arteta. He's busy there. So that tells you obviously the manager's busy, but you're not in his plans, really. So there you have that. And I mean, it would have been nice to have Tierney. We were linked with Gilmondo, people of Leverkusen, newly Bundesliga winners. Leverkusen, as have Liverpool. We're still linked with Diamande of Sporting Lisbon. And apparently, and the Arsenal fan is being chased by the Gunners. I mean, him being a fan is great, but it's not really relevant once you become a professional player, really. Osman links, I mean, he still has 120, 130 million pounds release clause over his head. Nobody seems, where Arsenal are concerned, to be on that. So it seems like Chelsea, PSG are left to their own devices. Arsenal have already started planning for life after Ramsdale, with the Gunners reportedly interested in signing Villarreal goalkeeper Philip Jorgensen as backup to David Raya. We've seen a number of keepers link people. The 21-year-old, he is quite decent, but at 21 years of age, do you really want to just come sit on the bench? For what it's worth, he's been linked with City, Liverpool, Wolves, and Newcastle, and we've been linked with Sunderland's goalkeeper. I can't remember his name. We've been linked with an American goalkeeper. We've been linked with him. We've been linked with the keeper at Las Palmas. Whether there's legitimate interest in these people, who knows, people? But there you have that. What else have we got here? Newcastle have taken young Arsenal goalkeeper Noah Cooper on trial. There's been a couple of Arsenal young players that have gone to other clubs on trial. Lewis Brown's gone West Ham, Amari Benjamin's gone Newcastle, and now you've got him as we wish them all the best in that regard. Jesus has the worst shot conversion rate of any attacker in the Premier League of 50 plus shots, so it shows you that he has an inability to score goals in that, for as much as I like him. So that's where we're at with that, people. Thomas Tuchel said first Gnabry is out, then Coleman and Sane are doubt for Arsenal. So they've got talent. We can't sleep on them. But where the news and all of that stuff is concerned, people, that appears to be everything affecting our football club. Zinni and Jesus out. Knowing Arteta, he played Gooner in the 6th row. That's harsh. Not feeling Zertsky at all. I'll be so real. I really hope if we can't get Isaac, at least move for your carers or Skesko. I'm here for that. Motta plays some very good football. Now, Wilshere doesn't seem like he'll be getting that move. Doesn't seem like he'll be getting the Scotland move. Naive replies from an inexperienced manager. Give your reasons for your decisions. To be fair, I'm not going to lie. There would be a couple of occasions where I will move like Arteta. And to be fair, I hear you. But I've seen Conte speak like that, Pep speak like that, Ten Hag speak like that, Klopp speak like that, Wenger speak like that. And they're all significantly more experienced. I like Jeremy Frimpong, but I just don't know if it will work in our system because his strengths seem more attacking-sided. The betting markets have City around 65 to 70% certain to win the Prem. 3-horse race is over. It's firmly a farmers' league. The reaction is the only thing that matters. Now I don't care about the title. I just don't want to see a total collapse. Coop Miners would be lit. DJ, I know you're in the fullback union, but Zinni needs to play. It is what it is. Saka started by Emery, but I feel Saka would have ended up starting at any point. I think Arteta has shown me he can perfect certain rounded players. When you look at what he was doing at City with Sane, Sterling, them kind of players that have a certain foundation, and it's not the same, but then, Saka had a certain level of education. The same with Saliba to a slight degree, to Martinelli as well. He's kind of Odegaard as well. He's kind of perfected it and put them on a trajectory. But I'm yet to see Arteta kind of just pluck a random player out of the academy or, a random Fabio Vieira and really show me something in that regards, if I'm honest. And I would like to see us sign some Brazilian wonder kids. Marquinhos scored a decent goal the other week, but he's Bandulu, man. That's back. It stinks of back pocket payments, man. On the live chat, I was calling for subs at halftime. Was obvious we're in trouble. Need a Partey or Jorginho and one of Havertz/Jesus off. There you have it, man. It's an issue in that regards. Zertsky is probably the better option with Odegaard. I think they would find each other better in the final third. The only thing I can say about Zertsky is his age, which is obviously a promise because it could be a good player for us in the future, but you don't have a strong pedigree of scoring goals. But the general play, the link-up play, the modern, the pressing, what you would want from a modern striker, I think Zertsky has that. I think Gyökeres has a bit of it all, but off one season in Sporting, for as much as he's done well at Coventry, as much as I like him and the more I watch and do research, and I've actually been trying to get some Sporting Lisbon content creators to ask them and bring you lot content. I like him a lot. I think Sesko's very raw and we'd have to work, but I think within the next 2 years, he might be one people like, oh, what's going on there? But I don't feel there's a striker that wholeheartedly I'm like, oh, you're the guy. Even Isaac would love Isaac. If there's a case of him even being somewhat available, get it done. But it's crazy. 89 points is the max we can do now. We got 84 points last season, meaning if we draw and lose again, we're back to square one. Boy, I mean, would love a gun, man. If we get a top striker, no one's more happier than me. But I don't think it's enough, man. I think next summer, I don't expect you to do everything in terms of incomings and outgoings. But if I don't see a winger, a striker, at least one central midfielder, and either an 8 or a 6, we all know I'd like both, and some defensive reinforcements to shift the burden on Benjamin White, Saliba, Gabriel, and obviously to give us some confirmation and consistencies in performances at left back, can forget about anything really. You know, we're going to keep up this upward trajectory, but getting things over the line, there's issues. You know, I still think there's teething issues with psychologically how we handle the Champions League, how we navigate multiple competitions. I'm an Arsenal fan. I love the FA Cup. I don't think since winning that, I think Arteta's messed about. The league, obviously, for the large part, were good, but when it really matters, we're giving ourselves a lot of ground to cover. So yeah, man, you know, we did win the English Super Cup, but it's looking like Champions League qualification, and we go again. Gasperini's lit. You know, hopefully they get the job done against Liverpool in the week, because now I want all our rival teams out on the best of days, but now I want pure carnage and failure, if I'm completely honest, man. But with that being said, we've been here for 90 minutes. You know, win, lose, or draw, you lot have been amazing. I'm off to get some. Well, I've had lunch. I'm lying to you lot, but get another snack, and then I'm going to edit some content for you lot. Obviously, at 7 p.m., I've got a video coming out, people, where we're going to more go over Aston Villa from a tactical analysis. I just wish my team performed like how you lot perform over Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, and you lot's consistencies, your engagement, your differences of opinions. And I thank you very much for that, man. This year, we're trying to get to 70k subs, so I can't do it without you. So if you haven't smashed the like button and whatnot, make sure you're doing such. Zuba Mendy be perfect. Cold Fade, come on, shout one Barber, man. Like, good luck sold separately. You know the ones there, man. Apparently, we've got the best bench in the league right now. I mean, as long as Pep Guardiola's there and they've got that strength in depth, we can't lay any claim to that. But yeah, you lot stay safe, stay blessed, and we'll link up soon. I mean, Timber's been injured. Tomiyasu can't buy a start. Zinchenko's got inconsistencies. Tavares ain't good. Let's just look at a left back who could have made a difference.
Against this right back, Charlie.